higher when you call us next
100%.
time. Get started? Welcome everybody. Got a small intimate group today,
How
so
we doing?
do a lot of
Everyone doing today?
questions and engagement throughout the presentation today. I'm Zach Zinn with VKZ, Director of Operations.
My name is Jack Walker, Director of Customer Experience at VKZ. We're from Scottsdale, Phoenix, Arizona area.
Sedona and Flagstaff as well. And we've got Sharon in the back who's going to help out. Just the assistant for the day. So we're going to give you guys a taste of our secret sauce, so to say. We'll dive into a little bit about us, our story, how we got started. We'll touch on our system processes and automation throughout LiveRes and the products that LiveRes offers. We'll boil down our tech stack, what we use and how we use it. We'll touch on additional revenue streams as well, and then we'll open it up for questions.
So I wanted to give a brief background of VKZ, how we started. Back in 2014, when Zach and I were just 19 young pups, we got our real estate license and started selling real estate full time. Started selling a lot of houses. Ran to our mentor, other business partner, Patrick Tice. In 2017, we started VKZ by mistake. Patrick was flipping a property. He bought a property, put like $80,000 into it, was going to flip it. One of the buyers came to him and wanted to buy the property, and we asked, why do you want to buy the property? And he said, we're going to turn it into an Airbnb, vacation rental. So it kind of got our thoughts thinking, our minds like, wow, this is quite interesting. So we started doing some research and actually turned Patrick's home into our first vacation rental that we managed ourselves. We didn't know anything what we were doing. It was completely dry run. It was crazy. And then naturally we sold the Canadians, because we were all real estate, realtors, real estate brokers at the time. We sold the Canadians 3 properties, and they needed a manager as well. So then we had 4 properties. And then the person across the street needed a management company. And then before we know it, we had 7, 8 properties, and that's when we were like, okay, we got to get rid of all these paper checklists and whatnot. And that's when we joined LiveRes. So in just 3 to 4 years, we were able to scale our portfolio to about 55 homes, currently at about $65 million of real estate that we manage. We focus on the luxury sector. Our average year-over-year growth has been 260%. So Zach and I are here today to add as much value to you guys as co-managers as possible. Help you, give you some of our tips and tricks and how we were able to scale this business with just 3 people. Now we have more employees, more teammates, but for the longest time it was just 3 people, and we were able to scale this business by using great automation, technology, and systems, letting the computer work for you rather than having to have a large team. So we'll go into that.
It's worth noting that the $65 million in real estate we have under management is only from 50 homes.
So I'll go into our standards, right? So company needs to have a great standards that you represent, right? So from day one, our tagline for VKZ is it's all about the guests. So we focus on the guests, right? The guests are going to bring the revenue to everybody. If you focus on the guests, then everything else multiplies and increases and makes everything better. So we focus on the guests. We know our market and industry. So you got to know your market. You got to know your industry. You got to maintain your product and service. So what you promise to the guests, you have to deliver. And then innovative and progressive thinking outside the box. We took first what is it called, first world principles, and thinking, we didn't really copy we literally didn't copy anybody else. We just kind of built everything from the ground up. So that's kind of what we're here to talk about.
The bar is continuing to be raised, so you need to continuously change your business to fit what people are looking for. So now we're going to dive into, our LiveRez system and the products offered by LiveRez, Live Manager, Live Trust as well. On LiveRez, I know we're all using LiveRez here, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But the two main things I want to touch on are the CRM, and I hope everybody in here is using the CRM within LiveRez and not sending out any emails manually. You can see in the screenshot on the bottom, when a guest books, there's 12 to 15 emails that get automated to send out right away. Now these don't go out to the guests right when they book. We build in the send rules. So for example, when people book, they get their booking confirmation email, says, hey, thanks for booking, send us some more information. They get their guest rental agreement. So e-signature on here as well is very important. Gone are the days of you having to run a report, pull up all your guests, and manually send your guest rental agreement for people to sign. So this does it automatically for you. And then email marketing as well. So, we have a variety of emails that go out to people. Hey, thanks for staying with us last week. We've, blocked off your dates for next year if you guys want to book again. Follow us on social media and, follow us for a chance to win 10% on your stay next year. So it's a great tool for email marketing and retargeting as well. And then through the reservation system, a procedure that we really like to do is our guest outreach program. So we have our team meeting on Monday, and we go through all of the guests that are checking within that week's time period. And the first thing we're identifying is, everybody gets a call. So they get a call to, hey, Joe Smith, this is Zach with VacayZ. I just want to make sure you got your check-in instructions, because nothing is worse than getting the call at 8 p.m. on a Friday night that people don't have their code. So we're preventing a phone call by doing that. And we're also asking any last-minute questions that people may have. And we're also trying to sell anything last minute. So I know by looking at the reservation grid that this guest can check in early on that day. So, hey, do you want us to double up our cleaning team for $75 and we'll get you guys an early check-in? This is a great way to add those last-minute add-on services, because remember, the guest booked, it depends on your market, but 30, 60, 90 days ago. That money has already been spent, so it's out of sight and out of mind. So all the stuff that's being added on closer to their stay, that's pennies to them at this point. And then what we're also doing is we're identifying and red flagging potential problem groups. We come from Scottsdale, Phoenix, so we see a lot of bachelorette parties, bachelor parties, guys golf groups, and we have big properties that can accommodate, 12, 16, up to 25 guests. So when we're going through these reservations, we can see, okay, this house that can accommodate 25 guests, there's 20 people coming in. Those people get red flagged, and when we call them to check for their check-in instructions and try to sell them those extra services, we're also reminding them of our noise policy, our good neighbor policy, and reviewing those house rules, because you're leveling with people. You have somebody on the phone. They're not just renting from a company or renting from Airbnb and treating your home like trash. So we've found a lot of success in doing that and preventing problems before they happen.
So I am going to go into Live Manager. Who uses Live Manager? Okay, handful of you. Who uses, is it Rubaroo, the other companies? Breezeway, okay. For us, Live Manager is very simple, and we only use it for a few things, right? 2 or 3 things. We don't complicate it, keep it really simple. The first thing we use Live Manager for is obviously the cleanings, right? So all the work orders are are automated. There's no manual work in there. So a work order, once a guest books, the work order is created on the day the guest checks out, obviously, and the cleaners have their schedule, right on their phones. When a cleaner gets to the property, our procedure is, when a cleaner gets to the property, they check in right away. So they check in, and that's where you can see the yellow bar there on that side. Yeah. So then the person on staff who's watching over this can see, what is going on in the field. Where are the cleaners at? Which homes have not been cleaned? If a home has already been cleaned, and like Zach said, if a guest calls up and wants to check in early, well, yes, we can get you in as early as 12 noon for $75. We're all here to drive more revenue into our business. Yes or yes, right? So that's what we're here to talk about, how to get additional revenue into your company rather than just the management revenue. The next thing we do with Live Manager is our QCs, right? So quality control inspection. And we have a checklist built out in the work orders. But basically, after the cleaners have cleaned the house, so the cleaners are our first eyes of defense. They get there within an hour or two after a guest checks out. And then a quality control inspector on the VacAZ staff then shows up typically the day the guest arrives. So what we do in that inspection is we're turning on the TVs, right? We're getting the music going. We're straightening up chairs, and we're making sure things smell good, and we're organizing the kitchen, or we're checking the hot tubs, making sure the property is fresh and clean for that guest about to check in a couple hours. So that's what we do with our QCs. The next thing with Live Manager is pool heaters, right? So in our market, pool heaters are huge, absolutely huge. We have these big pools, and they get heated, and they cost a lot of money. We charge the guests for that, which is an additional revenue stream, which we'll talk about. But through the Live reservation, we can simply click of a button, and then the person in the office who is managing the pool heaters on that particular day can see, as you can see on here, turn pool heater off, turn pool heater on. Do I have an example? Yeah, there at the bottom.
Kind of hard to see.
Right. So that is one of the other ways we use Live Manager.
And it's worth noting, the pool heat work orders are tied to a reservation option event. So when people are booking, obviously all these cleanings are randomly generated because that's with every reservation. But pool heating is specific to only the homes that people want to heat the pools. So, as you're all probably familiar, when people are booking and checking out on your website, there are specific options that people can check. And when people check pool heat option and check out, that's where these work orders are coming from.
Can you tell them how templates work?
And yeah, the templates, that's kind of what I'm just talking about, is you build these templates of how does Live Manager know when to create a work order? And that's exactly what you're doing. So for example, we're building a template that says when somebody purchases pool heat on a reservation, there's 2 work orders that are going to be made. There's going to be a work order to turn on the pool heat, and that's turned on a day before they check in. So that's kind of like a send rule because it needs time to heat up. And then it also creates a work order to turn off the pool heat the day when they leave, because we don't need to be heating a pool that's not being used.
The fourth thing that we use is task groups. So task groups, we basically have each property, and task groups is a way to basically spill your mind in digital form for the whole team to see, right? We all, especially me, I forget things constantly, right? So as I'm walking through a house, if I see a drywall hole there, I'm going to log into the task groups, drywall hole left side of kitchen, or whatever you may see that you need to note, we use the task groups. So and then in our maintenance meetings, we constantly go through these task groups and ensure that they're scheduled and completed. And then just briefly on the custom view filter, which Brady actually helped me create years ago. So you guys connect with her to do that, or I can help you. But the custom view filter is just that picture on the left there where it shows the green and the yellows. The yellows are in progress. Like I was saying, if someone's at the property, it tells me, okay, they're at the property, or green is it's complete, it's ready, it's clean, it's ready to go.
So I'm curious in here who uses Live Trust. Okay, so a lot of people. So I don't need to go too far into this, but as you know, it's a great tool, because it's connected directly to LiveRez. So when a reservation comes in, as long as you have your owner built in your system and that commission rate set, it's going to automate and put everything on there for you. So the days of the Excel spreadsheets are over. Expenses as well. So like in our market, pool maintenance, monthly yard service, that's all generally the same every month. So it's a set it and a forget it type thing. I can put the expenses, tie it to a specific property or properties, and it shows up on the monthly statement every single month. And then one-off expenses as well. Clogged toilet, you got to send maintenance over and they charge $50. You can put in those one-off expenses. And then you have the ability for additional owner revenue. An example in our market, back to the pool heating, if we're not paying the expense for the pool heat, the owner is, then they get that pool heat revenue. So you have that ability to allocate that additional revenue to the owners. Now we'll dive into our tech stack. The first item we will cover is our Vacay Portal. That's an in-house product that we've developed over the past year. We'll go into our pricing stack, what we use, how we use it. We'll touch base on all of the remote automation products that we use, and then do a brief overview of our internal database product.
Okay, this I am really excited about. So Vacay Portal is an in-house product, proprietary software that we've created, our marketing guy and his software guys created. And we built it to solve a management internal problem. So what the QR code system is it's basically it's the house manual, it's a guidebook. So can everybody take out their phone and scan that QR code if possible? I'd like to just show you guys kind of what we've created, because if it's of value to you guys, we're talking about maybe selling it, right? Again, driving more revenue to the company. We've been using it 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, is when it launched.
And I'll tell you why we created it while you're pulling that up. So by the show of hands, who still uses this in their house for Wi-Fi, or how do I turn on the fireplace, right? Most people still have a booklet from my understanding. And the booklet gets dirty, it gets ripped, maybe something needs to change in the booklet. Okay, what if the Wi-Fi password changes? What do you have to do then? You have to print off another page, laminate it, deliver it to the property. So we said we're not doing that anymore. And basically what this QR code, it's just a little stand, just like at a restaurant or something. It's a little stand about this big, just sits around the house. We have anywhere from 2 to 5 of them, depending on the size of the property. They just sit around the house, and guests scan them. It captures their data. We can have nice pictures in there. It's really simple. Are you guys looking at it? Yeah. Yeah. So Wi-Fi, you can just click there. One of the other cool things is the home analytics. So our market's a big investor-filled market. People are pouring money into our market, and we wanted a way to capture more owners through our guests, right? So tell you a quick story. We had a guest stay at a property, and within a day, they reached out to us and said, hey, we love this house. We love this process so far. Everything's so awesome. We love, you guys are so techie, whatever. We have about $1 million to spend. Can you guys help us find a home? And we'll get into that, but we are real estate brokers. Our brokerage, Vacay does facilitate sales too. It's another way to drive revenue. Here, talk about driving revenue. So anyways, that particular guest, a week later, Zach and I showed them, 5, 6 homes that weekend? Maybe like the 4th home they contracted on. So I think we made like $30,000 off that contract. We helped them, Vacay will help them design it, furnish it, all the pots and pans. We have full control over all of that. We don't let our owners buy their own stuff because we know they're going to buy the cheap stuff. We don't want them to do that. We know they're going to buy the cheapest blender, so we have a proprietary list that we've developed over the years that we basically not force, but we make owners. If they're going to join the Vacay system, they're going to do it our way, right? Because we know what we're doing. The guidebook's cool. Guidebook is still in development, right? As you guys may click on it, it's still in development. But the vision soon with the guidebook is just like any other guidebook, right? You can customize your specific restaurants, or the lychee martini at this restaurant's fantastic. I'd definitely go get that, or the breakfast burritos at that restaurant. So it's a way to customize that. And then real-time adjustments. So this house manual, that you can't adjust this in real time. I can literally right now through my phone log into our portal, and I can change the Wi-Fi password, hit publish, and if a guest at one of our houses in Scottsdale right now scans that QR code, it's already changed on there. The Wi-Fi password's changed. You can change everything in real time. Super cool. Anything I'm missing on this?
Yeah, I mean, to touch on the data capture a little bit, for whoever scanned the QR code, obviously it asks for your name and your phone number. So we all know when somebody books, we get the phone number of the person who booked, and that's it. And if there's 8 people in that group, you don't get any information from anybody else. So we're seeing through measuring our data, we're getting 5 to 6 phone numbers per reservation in addition to the phone number of the person that booked. And then we use that for marketing after the fact through text. So that's a great feature of it as well. To get into our pricing stack now. So the 3 main components that we use, so we use Beyond Pricing, we use Key Data, and then we also use AirDNA as well. So to touch on Beyond Pricing a little bit, we use kind of like a cyborg approach, which is it's a combination of algorithm, systems, technology, and a human element to pricing as well. For those of you familiar with Beyond Pricing, you plug in a base price, and then it uses that base price and measures it against comparable properties in the area, and it gives you this crazy graph of where all your rates will be. It's truly dynamic pricing, which is great. But we kind of see it as a blueprint of where to start. With an algorithm, an online technology, it's comparing your 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom home to all the other 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom homes in the market. So it doesn't know that your property is on the side of a mountain and has the hot tub with the views and pet friendly and all this other stuff. So it's on you as the manager who truly knows the home to price the home accordingly. So we use it as a blueprint of where to start, and you can see on the calendar here, we do a lot of manual overrides. So we don't quite let the system run amok and run on its own. We do still have a very large human element into that, and the way we do pricing is we meet every single week with our revenue management team, and depending on the month, we kind of have it set up. So like the first Wednesday of the month, we're going to look at the next 3 months of pricing and make sure all of that's dialed in. The next Wednesday of the month, we're looking a few weeks out and retweaking that as well, and then the following 2 Wednesdays are very short term, filling in the gaps, making sure holidays are priced accordingly as well. And then Key Data is great. I hope everybody's using Key Data or something similar. It helps you measure your in-house data, which I think is the most valuable data out there. It's great for benchmarking year over year. How was property A doing last year, and how can I make it 10% better this year? You can create, measurable groups. You can compare group A to group B and see how certain properties are comparing to each other. And you can run cool reports like, okay, at this time last year, how was I booked out 3 months ahead, and how am I comparing this year as well? So very powerful tool that I think everybody needs to use. And then AirDNA. I know AirDNA gets a lot of slack, that it's not a great tool. I think otherwise. I use the Rentalizer tool and the Top Properties tool, if anyone here is familiar with AirDNA. But basically, the Rentalizer tool, you plug in an address, you put in the property and, the bedroom and bathroom count, and it'll spit out, hey, this home will produce $200,000 in annual revenue. Now, that's great, but you have to know how to read that. And I feel a best practice that I use is I put my own properties in there. So I know how much one of my properties does on a 12-month basis. I'm going to plug in this home, and I see the number that it spits out, and I do that to a couple of homes, and I kind of find that percentage difference. And then I use that as a benchmark when I'm plugging in new potential homes, and I use that to really see, okay, what's the realistic price here? Because AirDNA, they include pretty much everything. So cleaning fee, a lot of processing fees, add-on stuff, and they can't really differentiate guest stays from owner stays as well. So it's flawed technology, but when you know how to use it, it's a very powerful tool, especially with new owner acquisitions. And then their top properties feature, you can see comparable homes in what they're doing in a 12-month span. And then if you know how to read it, you can definitely see how your competition is doing. Okay, and then we'll get into now remote automation.
Yep. So remote automation is something that has really benefited our business. And I want you guys to start thinking of what are things that you guys have to constantly send your people out to a house to do, whether that's turn on this or pull out, remove the trash cans if you have to. Whatever you have to do, there might be an option out there that you spend some money on that can help your business grow and take out that manual labor. So the first one with us is pool heating. So years ago when we didn't have any money, to turn on a pool heater, we would have to show up to the property. We would have to turn this gas valve, we'd have to turn on the pool pump, we'd have to do all this nonsense and then hope and pray that it actually stayed on and heated the pool for the guests. So then we got smarter and we bought pool automation like iAqualink, if anyone's familiar, or Pentair ScreenLogic is another one. And it's about $1,200 a pop to install. And again, you want to spend your money on things that will help grow your business over time, make things easier, less manual visits. We want to stop manual visits. So for example, almost our whole team is here in Boise right now. And we've been turning on pool heaters on and off this whole time, right through the app on my phone. I just click them on and off. We read Live Manager and go through the work orders, and that has been a game changer for us. So what are some things that you guys have to constantly do? Like what are some things you guys have to constantly go to your house to turn on or turn off? Any examples that you guys have? Like trash cans maybe? Does anybody wheel out trash cans themselves? Okay, is there anything like, do you have to go turn on the spa for a guest or something? Say it again? Air. Okay, well we'll show you how we fix that. So air is in the AC or the heat? Okay. Anybody else have any examples maybe? Got it. Okay, keypads. Right. And are your keypads, are they different for all the houses or are they the same? Okay.
Yeah.
What was it?
Supply.
Yeah, we're dealing with that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's super annoying. COVID.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah,
So-
that's a great segue into our next point.
Yep.
So Point Central, I don't know if you're using Point Central or maybe considering using Point Central, but that's what we use for all of our smart home automation. So if we're starting with the door locks, that's been a huge saving grace for us. You'll be at a dinner, 9 p.m. at night, and somebody calls up, hey, I'm at the house, the key's not in the lockbox, my code's not working. Well, the beautiful thing about Point Central is this is a screenshot from our phone, is you pull up the property they're at, you can access the door lock over here on the right side of the screen, and you can send an unlock command to that lock and unlock the door, get the people in at least right away, and then you can figure out what the problem is later. At least they're inside the home. So the door locks have been great. And then safety as well. So it ties directly to LiveRes. So when a booking comes in, a random code gets generated that doesn't start until the day of check-in, and then it expires on the day of checkout. People are getting smarter these days. So when they go on Airbnb and they look at your calendar, they can tell which days are unbooked, and, making copies of keys, that's in the past. So we don't have to, worry about that anymore. And then the thermostats are amazing. They're connected directly to LiveRes as well. So they're very cost conscious and can regulate a lot of things as well. So the thermostats know when the home is booked and when it's not. We live in Arizona. it gets very hot in Arizona. So we don't want to be cooling a home to 76 when nobody's there for 3 or 4 nights. So the system knows, okay, when the house is unoccupied, let's bring the air to 85, let it sit there. And then the night before guests arrive, it cranks it down to 76. So when they do show up, it's nice and cool, and we didn't have to cool a house by mistake for 4 or 5 nights and cost our owner a lot of money.
And that's just settings? That's just a setting that
Yep.
we...
Yep, that's a occupancy-based rule is what they call it within Point Central. You set that up, apply it to all your homes or only the homes that it's applicable to, and it's great. I can't recommend it enough. And then the other great thing is you can just monitor what's going on, right? So right here you see it's at 76 degrees, but if you click into it, you can see the temperature reading in the home. So I can't tell you how many times we've clicked in and see, oh, wow, it's still 85, but it changed to 76 6 hours ago. What's going on? Sorry. Let's send our AC tech out right away and get this problem fixed before somebody checks in. So it saved our butt a few times, for sure. And then just in general, monitoring, you can see what's going on, and then it keeps record of everything that happens. So, we've had instances where guests call up and say, hey, I was out till 2 a.m. last night. I woke up and my wallet's not on the nightstand where I know for sure I left it after that night of drinking. And we can go in and look at the door lock log and say, well, hey, you guys left the home at 7 p.m. We can see that here on the lock, and you came back at 2. Nobody else accessed this lock, So that's a great way. That comes in handy for a lot of different things.
So the next one is trash service, right? Guests produce an abundance of trash, and it used to be a huge problem for us. They used to actually call me Trash Man Jay, right? So years ago, I would schedule myself almost every day because sometimes the recycle goes out different days than the trash does. So I was driving to all these properties until, again, we got smarter and we spent our money. This is a company expense. VacAZ pays $35 per property, and we hire a trash service that called Can Monkey in Scottsdale, and then I'll touch on Taylor Wason up north in Sedona. But Can Monkey is a service we pay, like I said, $35 a month, and they show up to the property. They wheel the cans out the day before the trash goes out, and then the day the trash gets picked up, they wheel the cans back out. So I don't know if some of you may be asking your guests to do this task. To me, like if I'm on vacation, I don't want to do any work, right? I don't want to have to worry about the trash. So, and then the guests will forget. They're not focused on doing your job, right? That's your job. That's management job is trash, in my eyes. So we hired this company, and they're not perfect, but they're 99% good. Yeah, they're really good actually. And then up north in Sedona, we have a Taylor Waste is a company up there. And what they do, it's you spend a little bit more money on trash service, but they actually wheel the cans to their truck. They dump the cans, it's genius, dump the cans and then wheel them back. So it's a one-time arrival and trash is set up. So again, our founding principle is it's all about the guests, so this creates a better guest experience.
So we'll touch on our Ring and noise monitors that we use. So we used to use NoiseAware, now we use Minute. We've found that that's a better product for us, and I think that Point Central is going to be offering their own noise monitoring device as well. But again, you can imagine coming from Scottsdale and Phoenix, noise is a huge problem that we have to deal with. So this type of equipment is almost required on all properties. It should be required. But with cameras, you're getting a constant visual. So you're not there at the property, but this is the next best thing, is you can always see what's going on. Generally, we have anywhere from 2 to 4 cameras per property. So we'll always put like a Ring doorbell camera on, see the activity coming in and out of the front door. We'll put another floodlight camera over the garage just to see, because another thing is cars. We get a lot of cars that pile up in our homes, and we have limits, so we need to be able to monitor that. Another thing is we have eyes and ears. So those 2 camera placements that I just talked about is in the front of the home. But we also will put a camera on the side of the home close to the backyard. Now that camera will be positioned to the front of the property, so you're not encroaching on any private spaces. But the main reason that's there is for audible. So if a neighbor calls up, says, hey, there's a lot of noise, music, party going on next door, we can then go into that camera and just listen and see what's going on. Is this a valid complaint? Is there something going on? And then also, obviously the noise monitors too, they measure the decibel levels, so they'll tip us off whenever anything might be going on that should not be. And then the beautiful thing is these really come in handy when you need to enforce certain rules and policies. Guest count control is obviously a big thing, especially in our market. Someone may book for 8 guests, but 16 people show up. We need to be able to monitor that on the cameras. Pet monitoring, I'm sure people bring pets to your guys' homes all the time too that should not. And then just general party prevention too. That's very helpful. And these will come in handy with local law and regulation that's coming into your market. That's a big thing for us. Every year they try to pass legislation. And, we're a proponent for positive legislation. We think there is some regulatory aspects that need to come into our market as well as other people's. But there's obviously that far side that just wants to cut you out completely. And so when you have those neighbors that just hate what you're doing and they call law enforcement claiming there's a crazy party going on, when I can pull up this over here, this noise monitor graph, and say, hey, at 7 p.m., we were at 50 decibels. That's not loud at all. You can fight against that neighbor complaint and show that it's invalid. And then the cameras as well, it records everything, so you can use that to better fight your case. And then we'll get into our internal database. This is a really cool tool that we use. It's called Notion. And so it's basically a tool that you can build out to fit exactly what you are looking for within your business. I actually might pull this up and show you guys here. Oops. So this is our Notion page right here, and we use it for pretty much everything in our business. And basically what it is it's one place where all information for our staff that's needed can be found. So this first tab here you can see is our properties tab, and we've built this out to include basically everything you need for your home. So when we first started this and potential guests would call up and they have questions about your property, they would ask, oh, have you actually been to the house? And I always thought that was a weird question when we had, only 8 or 10 properties, because it's like, yeah, I'm in these houses 2 to 3 times a week. I don't know what you're talking about. But as you grow your team, your reservationists, your sales agents, they can't get to all your properties when you have a large portfolio. So this is a great tool to use in the office. If somebody calls up, your reservationist has instant access to the house manual. We've developed cheat sheets as well. So frequently asked questions that come up, somebody can pull this up right away and give somebody an answer instead of saying, hey, you know what, let me touch base with someone who's actually been in the home and get back to you on that.
Still a work in progress, just like everything.
Yeah, and another great thing we use it for, question? You do, but the thing with this is, like the house manual, for example, that's a link that brings you to a web page. That's kind of what you're limited with in Live Manager. You can't necessarily do that. And then another great thing we use it for is business operational procedures. So this is great with if like a reservationist is out of the office for the day, or you're training a new hire, and again, work in progress here, this is a new thing that we're using. But you can provide step-by-step instructions on how to do anything. So if anybody had to step into that role and do something, they have, kind of a blueprint to go off of. So for an example, if we needed to extend a reservation, we'll click on this. We get a brief description of what that is. And then, obviously we all know it differs depending on where the booking came from. So if we go to Airbnb bookings here, you can take screenshots right off of Airbnb or LiveRes and break it down step by step. So, step 1 to change, you click this button, this is the next thing that pops up, click that, this is the next page you're gonna see. So you can literally walk them through what they're going to see and how they're gonna need to do that specific task that maybe normally they might not know how to do. Where are we at here? And then checklists, if you want to get into that.
Yeah, checklists. Again, with Notion, it's a way for us to just have all of our checklists in one spot. So that can be all the quality controls, the cleanings, and then maintenance as well. And I'm using some of that for Live Manager, but I have plans to position it all in this Notion, because the Notion is all of the team can simply log in. It's just such a powerful tool that we've been building. So then I'll go into the additional revenue streams. So we have our Salesforce, occupancy-based pricing, Zach will touch on, add-on services, things that you can make money with such little effort, a little click of a button, and then some relationship-based services that you can make money on without automation.
So Salesforce, what this really means to us, as Jack mentioned before, is we're a licensed brokerage. And I'm curious here, is anybody else a licensed real estate brokerage? You, is that it? Okay. So for us, we firmly believe, and it's the truth, that nobody knows how to identify top performing vacation rentals better than the people managing them. So there's a lot of real estate agents out there that can easily claim, hey, I'll find you a great vacation rental, but I can't tell you how many times I've gotten the phone call from somebody saying, hey, want you to manage this property, and then you have to tell them why that's not going to perform well. That's not always a great conversation to have. So it's definitely worth looking into turning your company into a licensed brokerage. I mean, it's actually required in our state, but even if it's not required in yours, the couple of sales you might get a year is going to be worth that transition. And even then, if you're not going to do that, partner with real estate agents and charge them to show them how to find these properties. You can work on a consulting basis and say, okay, for X amount of dollars, I can go through the market and identify, okay, here's the top 10 properties in this price range that are going to provide the highest return. Because again, it's investors looking for these homes. So it comes down to you knowing your inventory and knowing what performs the best. You're the one paying your owners. So which one of those owners is constantly getting the highest payments?
I got a question. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No.
How many sales have? We're here to talk about money, right? How many sales have we done, and what kind of revenue has that brought our company this year on, if you know the?
So this year alone, I think our company has sold $15 to $20 million in real estate. Now, again, it helps when you focus on higher end luxury homes. That moves the needle quite a bit. But, the general commission in our market is 3%. So 3% on 15 million adds a lot to the bottom line. So it comes down to creating that niche and being the best resource for people looking for these properties. And again, it comes down to knowing the numbers, not only the revenue, but the expenses as well. So we've made hundreds of these pro formas on the screen, and it starts with the top line revenue, but then we break down the average expenses for that property. You might not be the one paying the bills. I know the owners pays the utilities and everything like that, but it's about having that communication with them and knowing what those averages are. And then at the bottom, it's kind of blurry, but you can see we can kind of spit out a projected net profit for the owners, and that definitely helps a lot. And another awesome tool is occupancy-based pricing. Is anybody doing this in their business? Okay, so in our market especially, this is a really awesome tool. Like I've said, we have big homes, 10, 16, 20 guest count homes, and generally speaking, the more guests you have in your home, the more opportunity for problems to arise. And so occupancy-based pricing does one of two things. It promotes lower guest counts in your home by providing a better price, but it also makes, when those higher guest counts do come in, they're paying for it. So the way this works in your system, if you look down here at the bottom of the screen, you're basically setting a max number of guests in your home where your base pricing is going to be. So I'm using this home, for example, that can fit 16 guests. That's the max occupancy. But you can see we have a base guest count of 10 people. So if you can see over here, 4 nights rent is $22,000. That comes out to $5,500 a night, I believe. And then we're charging an extra $100 per guest per night over that 10 guest count. So if people have 16 guests coming in, if you see this second line item right here, that's an extra $2,500 that you're charging. More people in your home results in more expenses for your owner as well. And that all, the way that LiveRes is built, wraps into rental revenue. So you're getting your cut off of that money as well. But you also got to keep in mind that that occupancy-based pricing is there, especially when you're doing your pricing weekly, monthly, however you do it, because in these holiday date ranges, you don't want to go too crazy high, and then when 16 guests are looking at your home, that's going to bump it even higher, and you might be missing out on some revenue there. So you always need to keep in mind that you do have these out here, and make any adjustments as you move along doing that as well.
Add-on services with automation. So number one is pool heating. So we charge our guests anywhere from $75 to $250 a night to heat the pool, and it's very costly. However, let's say it's $100 a night that the guests are paying. Well, that really only costs us about $50 a night. So we're making $50 a night per property, or per night that the guest opts to heat the pool. And again, that's simply turned on and off from our phone. We had to invest the initial $1,200, and then we make that money back right away, and then it's profit for forever, basically. The next thing is early check-in, late checkout. So if you're watching your live manager, like we do, if we watch our live manager and we know when the home's been cleaned, when it's been inspected, do we have opportunity for guests to check in early and check out late? If so, we charge for that, right? They're in the house, they're using people will pay for convenience. That's what we've learned. So early check-in, late checkout, we do about 20 to 30 a month of these services, and we charge on average about $75. So that might be about $2,000 of revenue, $24,000 a year of additional revenue that we brought into our company just by simply, a simple look at the calendar, ensuring the systems are correct, the home's been cleaned with Live Manager. Pack and plays and travel cribs. So what we do here is we actually have all the owners buy these items, right? So we actually just have the items already in the house, and if a guest reaches out, we offer it. Hey, we'd like to rent most people will rent a pack and play or a crib from you. And we'll charge, $10 a night, sometimes, $25 a night, depending on the season and the time, and that's additional revenue. We are also launching our Tesla car rental division, which we're really excited about. So we have our first car in process now, and guests will pay for convenience. Like I said, imagine booking a property and the car is already at the property, cleaned, there's a charger hooked up for you. Guests will pay a lot of money for that. So that's good profit for us too. Fill the fridges. So another thing that we do in our market, we contract with a company called the Herb Box, and let's say a group of guests of 8 guys are traveling for a golf trip, and they want to wake up at 6 a.m., they have a tea time at 7, and they don't have time to make breakfast. So they'll do like a fill the fridge option where they'll get 16 bacon egg burritos, right? And that's $200 or whatever it may be, and VacAZ makes 10% on that, right? So we're making percentages off anything that we bring in for the guests. We're the middleman here. So it's basically no work, very little work. It's just upfront work, and then forever it just cash flow to the company. Travel insurance?
Yeah, so the last thing we kind of capitalize on is travel insurance. I hope everybody is, and more specifically the damage protection insurance. So we're currently partnered with CSA, and so I think they charge $21 every time we sell damage protection insurance, but we sell it for $80, and for all of our direct bookings, 9 out of 10 people choose that option because we have our security deposit so high. So you can either pay an $80 one-time fee, or you can pay a $2,000 security deposit. You know, generally, if you put those rates high enough, people are going to choose that damage protection. And then to look within your own business, you can see, is it smarter to self-insure or to actually, you know, partner with someone like CSA? Self-insure, you know, it's pretty self-explanatory. If you charge people $80, you get all of that $80. But any time that damage occurs, you have to, you know, fork up the money to fix whatever the guest breaks.
So the next thing is relationship-based services to make more revenue for your company. So that includes a private chef. So obviously a private chef, that's someone that actually has to show up to the property and perform a service. Again, we just play the connector though. So guest wants a private chef for Saturday night. You know, they'll spend $1,500 for that evening, and we play connector and we make 20% on that. So that's another revenue. Same with massages, same concept. We play the connector, make more money. And then experiences. So think about local experiences in your market where you just have to do the work up front. You call the, you know, like for example, the Pink Jeep Tour in Sedona, you know, call them up, set an appointment, you know, connected them with our guests, and you make a percentage. So think about how to make more percentages off adding value to the guests. We're not money hungry, but we want to make more value for the guests. You focus, it's all about the guests for us, right? When you put the guests first, more revenue will come to you.
Guests want to press the easy button and they're willing to pay for it. So in conclusion, you know, the first thing is optimize LiveRes. You guys are paying for it, so you might as well use what you're paying for. It's important to build and optimize your tech stack. Generally speaking, we're a low-tech industry in a high-tech world. You know, we're starting to turn the corner there, but it's really important to partner with, you know, companies where it makes sense. And then monetize the guests just beyond just the rental revenue. Again, people want to press the easy button and they're willing to pay that additional tax to have that luxury. That's all we have. Any questions?
What questions do we have? Yes, ma'am.
How do you guys know when you have a large home and you're talking about, you know, you rent it for 10 people and then they go over?
We can hear you good.
Because,
Sorry.
like, how do you monitor that? Like, we have homes at the ski resort, they're large.
Right.
And how do you guys know if 16 checked in or 10 checked in?
You know, we have the camera set up, so that helps a lot. You know, we can look at that, but generally speaking,
Go over there, because we have a camera too, and if you go over there, like, don't they kind of feel like you're spying on them? Like, we have an owner that has a ring,
mhm.
and we wonder how to address that. Like, do you show up and go, hey, she saw it on the camera, 16 of you went in there. We don't have cameras at our homes, the
Mhm.
company doesn't, but some owners do.
Sure.
How do you do that in a tactful way?
Well, I mean, you got to remember that these guests are kind of breaking your rules, you know, so you don't want to like beat around the bush with them. Don't be afraid to be direct and let them know. And obviously make sure the cameras are disclosed up front so they know they're there. So when you say, hey, on the camera, and you got to provide the proof as well, because it's easy for somebody to say, no, there's just 10 of us here. And well, on the camera here, I'm counting 16 people walking in. So having that proof is important, but not being afraid, you know, because like in our business, our guest rental agreements are actually licensing agreements, kind of like what you would see at a ball game. So you're only licensed to use this home for a specific period of time. There's no landlord-tenant relationship. So if we have to, we can remove people from the home at any time. But when you have this proof, it's generally easier to work with, you know, the OTAs, Airbnb, and VRBO to help enforce your house rules.
And another thing too, almost becoming an industry standard, is that if there are cameras, you are monitoring them. Otherwise, you get into this co-management business with the owner, and that's with anything, whether it's revenue management or security, right? You want to be managing that. So strongly encourage you to consider not allowing the owner to co-manage with you and that policing hobby that they might be into.
Yeah, we don't allow owners camera access.
It's worth you spending the money so it's your camera and just saying, oh, sorry, owner, you know, it's on my enterprise account, and I can't give you access to that. Sorry about that.
You have to be careful with state laws too. They're different.
Yeah.
You have to
True.
be very careful about, if it's public knowledge, you're kind of an area, but if they're expecting privacy, you can't.
Yeah.
So,
Disclose, disclose, disclose. Let them know
So-
up front.
One other quick question on cameras before we leave that topic was how do you staff? Doesn't that become cumbersome to staff the, monitoring the cameras, or is it just if there's an alert like noise and then we go to the cameras? Because that was someone else's question.
Well, what's your current staffing levels now, utilizing this technology and 55 homes?
So we have internally in the office, we have 5 people, and then we have maintenance team, cleaning team, obviously all of our service providers as well. But to touch on what you're talking about, we do set up specific alerts at certain times of the day to when we need to chime in and see what's going on at a property. And then, I mentioned earlier, kind of when we go through the week of bookings and identify those red flag guests, we know which cameras we're looking at, at certain times of the night to make sure nothing weird is going on.
And then how many of in the field are contractors versus employees? Cleaners, inspectors, maintenance? Do you have anyone full-time employed, or are those all independent contractors?
Those are all independent contractors, all of our cleaners. Our maintenance, we have a full-time maintenance guy, and all his job is for 40 to 60 hours a week is to travel to all the houses and fix if there's nothing to fix like right away, then we have, all the preventative maintenance things that he can perform and do. So he's slammed it. We're actually talking about getting someone else as well, 2 maintenance guys.
Robert, does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, hopefully it's just a simple question. You had the cribs and the pack and plays under an automated service,
Yeah,
but you said the owners, each place has one.
correct.
So how do you monitor that?
We don't. If they pay for it, that's great. If they don't, it's still
They get
there
it
for
for
them to
free.
use it. So,
Most people are gonna be planning ahead and will pay for it up front, right? They're expecting to pay for it to be there. If they just wing it and I don't have kids or anything, but if someone were to sleep on the I guess a little kid were to sleep on the couch or something, that doesn't make any sense. So they're gonna plan for it.
So one other thing I've heard of companies doing is having them in like the locked owner's closet or a storage area in the property, and then it's
Yes.
just on the Live Manager or Breezeway checklist saying they ordered, just like anything else that they would order, that making sure there's a work order reflecting that they ordered it, right? But really, ease of use, talk about easy to fulfill the order, just grab it from that closet and then
Yeah.
it's out.
That's a good point, Sharon.
And when you have to pay for something, the benefit of having them pay for it versus like, and there's a pack and play for you to use if you want, is they typically you take care of what you pay for, right? So
Mhm.
same with like beach chair rentals or some other things that are common in your destination that they're going to use and enjoy. $2 a day or whatever it is like a penny to the guest, as Zach was saying. But man, those beach chairs are there when they depart. Like they're making sure that they're responsible for them. Any other questions?
anything else?
So the question is, do you keep inventory, like inventory management with sheets and linens and common?
Linens is our battle right now. It's our number. Remember, I think you and I were in that class. Yeah, that's our battle right now. I'm trying to figure that out. Our strategy with linens is owners buy 2 full sets. So we have a universal linen system. All the owners buy the same exact linens, right? So the cleaning teams can use those linens. What we used to do when we first started was like, okay, purple sheets has to go on purple house, right? But no, it doesn't work like that. So we made it universal. What was the question? I lost my train of. Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, it's typically, and it's a work in progress as well, but usually about every 6 months, we will go in and we have a checklist built of all the inventory items, right? So as you know, like a blender will get broken or a spatula will be missing. And sometimes you do just have to order things on Amazon with the click of a button. If a coffee maker goes down, you do, and we're a quick service or business, so there are times where you do have to go to Walmart or Target and get a coffee maker and deliver within the hour. It sucks, but it is what it is. Yes, ma'am. Right. Right. See, the thing with our homes, we don't have, a lot of them don't have like an owner's closet. We have a big storage unit, probably about as big as this room here, of all of our supplies and extra items and stuff. But I agree with you that that'd be a good idea.
So how do you guys orchestrate from communication and service when a new owner joins your program and that inventory list is there? Is it up to the owner to go and purchase all those items? Do you offer this as a service to upsell to them and say, we'll go and, you know, fulfill the 82 item order? How do you operate
So
that?
we charge a setup fee, pretty hefty setup fee, depending on the house. Could be, you know, $45,000 to $10,000. You know, and with that will come our proprietary lists and systems of what we know works best in a vacation rental. I highly recommend you guys do not let your owners go buy stuff. They're gonna buy the cheapest stuff. It's gonna break over time. We know the specific products that will work the best, and we've stuck to that code.
They don't buy it, they bring it from their other home and they can.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Used
it's like, why are
secondhand.
we putting like the secondhand stuff in our cash flow property here?
Yeah.
No, we want the new stuff. So we make them get the new stuff, or they're not a fit for us. We're in control. We're in full control.
Great questions. Any other items come to mind? What other challenges you guys have in this, so they know that you're not totally super
No, yeah.
powers?
I think
Linens.
growth is another challenge. You know, we're relatively small and we're very reliant on technology and automation, obviously, but that can only take you so far. I think in this business, sometimes we're getting away from human connection. You know, I mean, there's been times where somebody a guest has booked our property and we don't ever talk to them. You know, they can check into the home, have their stay, check out, leave a great review, but there's really been no interaction. So maintaining that human element in, you know, a high-tech world, I think is important.
Well, and it's hard because the guests, the variance of what they prefer, that guest could have left you a 5-star because you left them alone. And it was great.
yeah,
You didn't
you
have to
gotta-
talk to anyone. So
you gotta
it's
know
hard
who
to
you're
know
renting to.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you call and leave voicemails for the pre-arrival
And you
concierge
know who
call.
you're renting to. You know, if somebody books and you don't hear from them, you learn off of that. But there's other people who call before they book, call when they book, call the day after they book, call, you know, a couple times before they arrive. We've all had those guests. So reading your guest and, you know, just being aware of what they prefer is important.
Okay. Any other questions? As we'll let you guys have a little bit more time, a few more minutes before the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.